and today I am talking about my lineup that I built. I had three entries into this lineup that I want to discuss. So, I want to talk about something that is really, really frustrating, but kind of helps understanding stacking in this game. So I had Sidney Crosby in this lineup at 6,600. Sidney Crosby did not hit at 6,600. Only four shots on goal. But playing Crosby allowed me to unlock um, Guntazel here. So having one piece do bad didn't really kill me when Guntazel also went off. Getting these cheap pieces at the lower ownership here was very good. But Sidney Crosby in this lineup, he was a pivot off of the Connor McDavid play. Connor McDavid was very chalky in this lineup. Um, so I elected to do two pretty mid range centers and then stack with the wings. So Crosby opened up Guntazel, which ultimately helped this lineup. But I did have a lot of bad plays. I came to a $3,000 Brome who didn't do well. I played CJ Miller at 2,900 who didn't do well. But ultimately, I liked where this lineup went. Starting with Sidney Crosby, going to Guntazel. If I didn't play Crosby, I wouldn't have unlocked the upside of Guntazel because I liked them as a stack. Itchell was another guy that projected fairly well going into New Jersey at 7,500. I liked Olafson um, at 5,900 here. Put up 11 points, which at that price tag isn't bad. Itchell went cold. I liked CJ Miller here at 2,900. I thought he opened up a good cheap value here with this price tag um, to play with Itchell and Olafson. I had to find a cheaper piece, so I played Miller, which didn't really work out. And then we had the cheap Detroit stack. So this was my lineup. That's going to get to a more overall theme here. This is my other lineup. This is where I played Connor McDavid at 9K. He was 45% owned. Um, Only gave you 12 fantasy points. Didn't do what you needed to get there. And these are nights where you really want to capitalize. When a guy like Connor McDavid goes for 45% ownership, um, you you really, really, really want to capitalize when chalk fails, because when chalk fails, and you have an edge on a large percentage of the field, and it's really upsetting that I was not able to take advantage of the Connor McDavid blunder that a lot of people were on. If you've been following my streams, you know that I'm against playing Connor McDavid for a lot of reasons. Mainly because his main price tag here at getting up to 9K makes it very hard to play him. I know Connor McDavid is a very, very good player. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but if you follow my live streams, you know that fading Connor McDavid when he's high owned is something I like to do a lot, because at that 9K price tag, it makes him very hard to play. I played him with Nurse and I played him with Pearson because when you're playing a guy at 9K, you need to have a lower priced piece here. So yeah, play. I ate the McDavid chalk. I ate the Horvat chalk. But Pearson was a way that I could play Connor McDavid and get leverage. He was cheap enough to take the risk. Um, and I also played Nurse. I played the cheaper hand on Vancouver, who I think was way too low owned on the other side, with Horvat, who put up 21 points. Hughes unfortunately went cold, putting up 4 fantasy points. Denault at 4,100 with Armeria put up 12 fantasy points. So this was frustrating. These lineups were frustrating because I had one piece of the stack go off, but the other pieces didn't. So I had Horvat who went off for 21 fantasy points, um, but Nurse went cold. Pearson went cold. I had Denault on Montreal go off here with 12 fantasy points, but Armeria went cold with 3 fantasy points. I might have over leveraged this lineup a little bit too much here, but I felt good going in with it. Only put up 71 fantasy points because one leg of my stack did well. Um, then I had a cheap Detroit stack here. I played Backstrom, Ovechkin, and Clarkson. I went into this lineup thinking that the Washington pieces were going to be higher owned, but a lot more people were on Crosby and such. So I honestly thought that Backstrom with Ovechkin was going to be a more chalky pick, but Backstrom was a good leverage play. Didn't work out here. But again, Ovechkin went cold, only put up 4 fantasy points. So just a lot of frustrating lineups in this 3 entry tournament, ranking me really low. Um, this was the winning lineup, and at 199, it had Patrick Kane, only 12% owned. Nobody wanted to pay up for Patrick Kane. And what kills me, and again, I don't need another consolation prize here, but I did say that like Patrick Kane would be a good pivot here because nobody was going to play Chicago, and if you had faith in Patrick Kane, you could play the other Chicago pieces. So this was the lineup. It had Kane here on Chicago. It had Roslovich on the other side of that game, stacked with Lane and Seth Jones. It had Forsberg at 9% ownership. Nobody was on the Nashville part of this game going against Detroit. So overall, this was a very good lineup with the Patrick Kane one-off in the middle here. He was the very good leverage play. Went really super cheap at center, which is something you don't see a lot. Went with the expensive one-off in Kane as the wing. So did he play any other Chicago guys? Stacked up the Chicago game and then kind of just made the rest fit. This was the winning lineup. On the slate today, he really hit on almost all of his plays, which is awesome. Had 2 cheap centers, which is a very contrarian build. Stepan was hurt, but so his only blunder was a guy that got hurt. So thank you all for watching. I know I haven't been posting a lot of videos, but I have been live streaming. I'm going to get on a more consistent live stream video schedule, but I just wanted to post a video today. So, as always, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give it a thumbs down and tell me how I could do better next time. And I'll see you on the next one.